Rahman Rahim. My dear students, in our previous lecture we completed the reading of our first lesson. Today we are starting your next lesson, Jinnah's vision of Pakistan. Now this lesson basically comprises the speech of Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah made on 11th August before the partition of the subcontinent. Now, whatever points Quaid-e-Azam discussed in that speech basically form the foundation of Pakistan and its constitution. Now, in the beginning of the lesson, the writers have given some introduction to this speech. Let's have a look at it. Muhammad Ali Jinnah's 11th August speech is one of the most famous speeches made by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the founding father of Pakistan and known as the Quaid-e-Azam, which means great leader. So Quaid-e-Azam, as you know, is the founder of Pakistan, and he made this speech. Today there is hardly a more contentious issue in Pakistan than the issue of Jinnah's vision. Now, what this sentence means is that perhaps the most debatable, contentious means debatable, controversial. So perhaps today it is the issue of Jinnah's vision regarding Pakistan which is the most disputable or most controversial issue in Pakistan. Different persons, different individuals, different organizations and parties try to interpret Quaid-e-Azam's vision in their own way. While Pakistan was created as a result of what could be described as Indian Muslim nationalism, Jinnah was widely held as a competent barrister who had once championed the cause of Hindu-Muslim unity and a united India. Actually, there are 2 points that we must keep in mind. Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah ultimately became a Muslim leader. But we mustn't forget that he was, in the beginning, a very great and very ardent champion of Hindu-Muslim unity. He worked very hard for Hindu-Muslim unity in the united India, but with the passage of time he realized that perhaps it wasn't possible there, even after the English, the British left. That's why he, step by step, with the passage of time, he came to the conclusion that the Muslims must have their own country, their own independent country, and that's why he struggled for Pakistan. So, in this paragraph, the writers want us to keep in mind that Quaid-e-Azam was not basically a religious leader or a person who believed in theocracy. He believed in rather democracy, and that's why he wanted Pakistan to be a liberal and independent country. When the partition of India finally occurred, Jinnah, soon to be Governor General of the Dominion of Pakistan, gave expression to his vision of Pakistan in an address to the Constituent Assembly on August 11, 1947. So before Pakistan actually came into being on 14th August 1947, the first Constituent Assembly of Pakistan met on 11th August 1947, and there he made a speech because he was to become soon to be Governor General of the Dominion of Pakistan. Means he was to become the Governor General of the state of Pakistan. He spoke of an inclusive and impartial government. So in this speech, he made it clear that the government that was going to be formed in Pakistan would be inclusive. Inclusive means that it would be formed by all the parties representing different sections of Pakistan and all the representatives of different parts of Pakistan. And that government was going to be impartial in the political sense. It wasn't going to be the government of only one party or only Muslim League. It was going to be a government of the people of Pakistan. And he also spoke of religious freedom, rule of law, and equality for all. He also seemed to advocate the ideology of Pakistan. And he also very emphatically advocated and made it clear that Pakistan was based on a specific ideology. So now his actual words start, and let me tell you that it is an abridged form of his speech, though the words we have before us are his actual words, yet certain parts of the speech have been omitted. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, I cordially thank you with the utmost sincerity for the honor you have conferred upon me, the greatest honor that is possible to confer by electing me as your first president. So, first of all, he thanks all the representatives present there very cordially. Cordially means wholeheartedly, from the depth of his heart. He thanks all of them very sincerely because he feels that those members have honored him by conferring upon him. To confer upon someone means to give, to bestow. So he had been bestowed with that presidentship of the assembly. So he thanks all the members for that. I also thank those leaders who have spoken in appreciation of my services and their personal references to me. And before him, different representatives made their own speeches also, in which they applauded, they admired and praised Quaid-e-Azam's struggle and effort. Appreciation means admiration, praise. So he thanks all of them also. I sincerely hope that with your support and your cooperation, we shall make this Constituent Assembly an example to the world. And he hopes that the present Constituent Assembly of Pakistan would become an example to the world with the help of mutual cooperation of all the members of the Assembly. And let me explain it also. Today, we call our assembly the National Assembly. But at that time, it was the Constituent Assembly because its main function, its main task was to form, to make the Constitution of Pakistan. That's why it was called the Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly has got two main functions to perform, and here the Quaid-e-Azam wants to mention what the tasks of this Constituent Assembly are going to be. The first is the very onerous and responsible task of framing the future Constitution of Pakistan, and the second of functioning as a full and complete sovereign body as the federal legislature of Pakistan. So these were going to be the two main functions of this Constituent Assembly of Pakistan. The first one was very onerous. Onerous means very heavy, very burdensome task of framing, making, forming the new Constitution of Pakistan. And the second function of this assembly was to function as a complete sovereign. Sovereign means completely independent body as the federal legislature. Legislature is the body that is given the task of making laws. Legislature is a law-making body. So it was going to be the law-making body also, as well as the body which was going to form or frame the Constitution of Pakistan. We have to do the best we can in adopting a provisional constitution for the federal legislature of Pakistan. So he points out that in the beginning, only a provisional constitution means a temporary constitution for the federal legislature of Pakistan. Really, that not only we ourselves are wondering, but I think the whole world is wondering at this unprecedented cyclonic revolution which has brought about the plan of creating and establishing two independent sovereign dominions in this subcontinent. As the creation of Pakistan was really a miracle, a wonder for the whole world, because in the history of the world, such a thing had never happened earlier. So Quaid-e-Azam points out that not only our own nation, but the whole world is looking with surprise, with wonder at this unprecedented means matchless, without any previous example. Cyclonic means stormy. Cyclone, is a sea storm. So cyclonic is stormy. So this revolution, this great change that has occurred in the subcontinent in the form of the establishment of two independent and sovereign states is really a very great miracle for the whole world, and the whole world is observing us as it is. It has been unprecedented. There is no parallel in the history of the world. So there is no match. There is nothing like this in the history of the world. This mighty subcontinent with all kinds of inhabitants has been brought under a plan which is titanic, unknown, unparalleled. And again he emphasizes that the subcontinent is really a very great piece of land. It is a mighty piece of land, because if you look at Europe, you will come to know that there are very small countries there. Similarly, in other parts of the world, there are mini countries. tiny countries. The subcontinent was really very great, and this piece of land was now divided into two independent states. So, and here people belonging to different races, speaking different tongues, and having different cultures live. The inhabitants, the people living here, belong to different races and languages. Their ethnic and linguistic background is quite different. So now the plan he is mentioning here is the plan declared or announced on 3rd June 1947, according to which the subcontinent was to be divided into two independent states, Pakistan and India. So with all, which is titanic, monstrous, of a great size. Titanic is basically like a monster of a very great size, unknown and unparalleled. So this plan is very great plan, a large size plan. It has no parallel, it has no example, and nothing like this is known in history. And what is very important with regards to it is that we have achieved it peacefully and by means of an evolution of the greatest possible character. As far as putting this plan into action was concerned, all that happened very peacefully, without any bloodshed, without any disturbance. Though disturbance and bloodshed occurred afterward, yet putting this plan into action didn't involve that. So Quaid-e-Azam is making reference to that also here. Dealing with our first function in this assembly, I cannot make any well-considered pronouncement at this moment, but I shall say a few things as they occur to me. Now he comes to the first point that he wants to discuss here in his speech, the first function of the assembly, which he himself pointed out, was to frame a constitution for Pakistan. So he says that whatever he is going to say is not well considered, well thought, or pre-planned. Pronouncement means declaration. Whatever he is going to say, whatever he is to declare here is not well planned. But I shall say a few things as they occur to me. He says, well, whatever points occur to him, whatever points strike his mind, he would put them before the audience one by one. The first and the foremost thing that I would like to emphasize is this. So he says that the most important thing, the first and foremost, the most important thing that he wants to stress here is this one. Remember that you are now a sovereign legislative body and you have got all the power. So he reminds the members of the assembly that they are no more the part of the British India, the part of enslaved India. Rather, they are the members of a sovereign legislative body, an independent law-making body, and they have got all the authority, all the power. It therefore places on you the gravest responsibility as to how you should take your decision. Therefore, they have got on their shoulders a very gravest means the most serious responsibility. Now they have got this most serious responsibility to make their own decision. The first observation that I would like to make is this. So the first point he wants to raise is this one. You will no doubt agree with me that the first duty of a government is to maintain law and order. He says, well, anywhere in the world, governments are established to maintain law and order. So is the case with this newly independent country, Pakistan also. Their first duty is to maintain law and order, so that the life, property, and religious beliefs of its subjects are fully protected by the state. Because the state is to function as the protector and defender of life, property, and religious beliefs of the people living within the boundary of the country. The second thing that occurs to me is this, and the second point that comes to his mind is this one. One of the biggest curses from which India is suffering, I do not say that other countries are free from it, but I think our condition is much worse, is bribery and corruption. And then he points out a very important thing. He says that it's a curse. It's a curse. Curse evil. The biggest evil which India means the subcontinent, is facing. And he says that he doesn't want to say that this evil isn't present in other parts of the world. Yet he says that in India, in the subcontinent, this evil is really very deep and in its worst form, is bribery and corruption. Bribery, is taking money to do some official favor. Bribery is to take money to do some official favor. And corruption is appropriation of money and authority. Misappropriation of money and authority is called corruption. That really is a poison. And he rightly says that these evils are really poisonous. They eat into the very foundation of the state. We must put that down with an iron hand. With an iron hand is an idiom that means with full force, with full strength. And I hope that you will take adequate measures as soon as it is possible for this assembly to do so. And he expresses his hope that all the members of the assembly will be cooperative in formulating and framing laws to properly, adequately, in a suitable way, in a proper way. Adequate measures, proper steps as soon as it is possible for this assembly to do so. So he hopes that as soon as the assembly starts functioning, the first task before it would be to frame laws to check bribery and corruption. So students, we leave it here today, and inshallah in our next lecture we'll continue from this point. I hope that you paid attention to whatever points I explained here. If you have any questions, you may contact me afterward. Thank you very much.